Yeah, then I have one for me, one for her.
Can I have your attention, please? The mayor will not be here this evening because unfortunately he had a death in his family and he's attending to the services this evening. Now, under the municipal code, the corporate authorities need to elect one of them, their own, one of the aldermen, to serve as the temporary chairman. And for this meeting, the temporary chairman would have the powers of the presiding officer as well as the normal right to vote of an alderman on motions and ordinances and resolutions as well. So what I was going to suggest that you do, if Clerk Cook could call the roll and establish the quorum, I would recommend that your first order of business be a motion to appoint a temporary chairman to preside over this meeting.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella. Here. Holt. Here. Schmidt.
Here.
Ridgewitz.
Here.
Randall. Here. Anthony. Here. Davidson. Here. Silsby. Here. Hayden. Here. Seibert. Here. White. Here. Galletti. Here. Musgrove. Here. Orland. Here. Schneider.
Here.
Yes,
I would like
Alderman.
to nominate Phil Silsby to serve as our temporary chairman.
Second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Dr. Alderman Phil Silsby as the temporary chairman of the meeting this evening. Roll call, please.
Can we ask
Heisler.
questions?
Oh, sure.
This seems to be predetermined in advance. Can I ask how many members of the good government party were in on the meeting that decided this?
I have no idea. I can tell you that historically, I'm informed, of course, I've never been involved in this here at the city before, that it's often provided that the longest standing alderman has served in that capacity.
Correct, which is not represented second.
Okay, I suppose you could ask the other aldermen if they want to serve in that capacity, but it's up to the corporate authorities to make that determination.
I understand that. It just clearly was determined before we came into this room. I believe you have a possible violation of the Open Meetings Act.
I did not attend the meeting.
I didn't
All right.
meeting.
How did you know who to nominate? You're telling me this was independent, that when I heard upstairs he was doing it, that you just spontaneously came to the same decision that others have come to? It has nothing to do with right. It has to do with violation. I'm not
I wasn't
objecting.
at any meeting, okay?
I find it highly suspicious.
Mayor contacted me and I declined.
Any other comments?
So if we don't like, all we have to do is vote yes or no, right?
Correct.
All right, we'll do roll call. Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland.
Aye.
Schneider.
No.
Dr. Silsby, if you could take the chair, please.
First order of business would be to explain the disaster plan that if for some reason there would be a fire and we need to evacuate this facility, we would ask that you please leave in an orderly fashion, exit the building, and then please meet in front of the sign, St. Clair County building sign, so we can take roll. And in case we'd have to evacuate the building because of a severe weather storm, we'd ask you to leave the building, or leave the council chambers, follow the signs, and then proceed downstairs to the shelter that has been provided. Before we go on with the other business, we'd like to announce that on April the 9th at 7 p.m., there will be a joint City Council Planning Commission Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee in the council chambers. So if you are a part of that body or the public and you'd like to be a part of that comprehensive planning commission, we would encourage you to do that. That is a Wednesday.
And this is a special call to the council.
A committee meeting, my understanding is. Emily, you want to address that?
Well, thank you. It'll be a joint meeting, just like we did last June with the City Council, Planning Commission, and our steering committees. We're nearing the end of the planning process. So it will be City Council meeting, official meeting minutes, same for the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Roll call of department heads.
Yes, sir. Police Chief Bill Clay. Fire Chief Tom Boer.
He's absent today, so I'll be standing in his place.
City Attorney Garrett Warner.
Here.
Ken Vaughn.
Here.
Royce Carlisle.
Here.
Jamie Matron.
Here.
Tim Gregowitz. Jim Schneider.
Here.
Leander Spearman. Emily Foltz.
Here.
Chuck Schaefer.
He's absent, I'll be standing in the bar.
And Bob Sable.
Here.
And Debbie Ball.
Here.
Okay, I'd like everyone to please stand and join us in the There is no public hearing. At this point, we would open public participation. If you have, to like to address the council, then we'd ask you to please raise your hand and then step forward to the microphone. Please state your name and address clearly, and then try to keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes. Yes, sir, in the back.
Stuart Leonard, 318 South 29th Street, Belleville. Several years ago, I fell in a 4-foot deep hole right next to a public sidewalk on West Main Street in Lindenwood, and it had that whole block tore up, I think, to make a parking lot, but there was a 4-foot deep hole right smack next to the sidewalk. Now, some little kid or old lady or somebody could have fell in that and broke their neck or back or sued the school for a good bit of money. So I called the Lindenwood and notified that day. I noticed that about 10 in the morning when I was walking my dog. And they said, don't worry about it. Mind your own business. It's fixed. So the next day I walked by there and looked around, the hole's still there. So I thought, well, they evidently don't pay no attention to this. They don't care about the citizens of Belleville. So I jumped in the hole, and I figured that's the only way to bring attention to it. So the fire department, the police, and the ambulance, and the who knows what come and pulled me out of the hole. And after that, there was 300 foot of barricades and red tape, yellow tape, and everything else. And that snotty attitude from Lindenwood, mind your own business, reminds me of tonight of another alderman that I believe he's got connections with Lindenwood, has made a derogatory comment to another alderman tonight, which is not the first time he's done something like that. And this resolution in support of this high-speed rail station in East St. Louis, it seems like the main objective there is to get the people out of East St. Louis as fast as possible so they can spend their money somewhere else. The object should be to get people into East St. Louis to spend money and have the people in East St. Louis spend their money in East St. Louis, not in Chicago. And it's only this so-called farce of a high-speed rail. In Europe, they would laugh at you if you call that high-speed rail. It only knocks on a 5.5-hour trip, it only knocks an hour off. And I doubt if they even knock an hour off by the time they get another 12.5 stops along the way. And this number C down here, 17C, possible motion related to property acquisition, that's all done under, out of public view. And some of the most silly property acquisitions take place at that time. And it seems like another thing, the only people that get tip money around here is people that really don't need it. The lady that wanted to open a coffee shop.
It's through your time's up.
Okay, thank you. But she didn't get no tip money now. Due to the follow-up from the city pays her $30,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other people want to address the council? If not, I'll declare that position closed. Presentations, recognitions, and appointments. In your packet, you received some information that the mayor would like to appoint Jay Goddard as wastewater treatment plant pre-treatment coordinator effective 7 a.m. April 7th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Snyder.
Thank you.
Alderman Hayden?
Is this an existing employee?
No, it's not. It's not existing. He is not existing.
But the one he is, my understanding, he's replacing someone that's retiring.
He's replacing John Graham's position, who's retiring.
And I assume then the reason we're starting in April 7th and Mr. Graham's retirement date is May 2nd is so he can at least spend a month of...
They'll give him a month to learn the pre-treatment coordination.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, is he here? Is that, okay, just wondering, sometimes the mayor has them stand up and address or announce who they are.
Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Present.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Jay. You'd like to stand up? Everybody can see who you are.
Thank you.
Also, they recognize the character word of the month is perseverance, staying with the task, not giving up. Even though at times it seems like everything's falling in when you press forward. Next is the approval of the minutes. You received the minutes in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Yes, sir.
By Alderman Schmidt. Alderman second by Heisler. Any additions or corrections, Alderman Galletti?
No, go ahead.
I wasn't at that meeting. Unfinished business, second paragraph, third sentence from the bottom,
I'm sorry, what page?
that'd be 12, I'm sorry. It says it's easy that way. It says Alderman Bloody feels that future communication should be addressed in the whole of the alderman. I just wasn't there, so
He wasn't at the last.
I wasn't
meeting.
at the last two city council.
Okay.
So whichever alderman that was should be filled in. Whoever said that, I don't know.
Schneider, did you
Oh,
have?
no, it showed him because I had it highlighted.
Was it you that said that about the things being addressed to the council as a whole?
Yes, I did.
That was over the letter that I received and everybody else received. Believe me, I did not send it to Charter.
Okay, any other additions or corrections?
And then on the, I had two of them highlighted here, page 13. When we approved the motor fuel tax, the mayor stated that only the senior alderman, Paul Seibert, could make the motion to approve the motor fuel tax, and it wasn't printed in here like that. It should have had that stated in there.
I'm sorry. The mayor acts.
Mayor Eckert stated that only Alderman Seibert could make the motion to approve the motor fuel tax.
He did say it, but I thought he was kidding.
That's right.
It's just
Okay, any other additions or corrections? Okay.
Page 6, there's a paragraph about the third down that says,
Okay,
Alderman
I'm
Schmidt,
sorry, what page?
6. It says Alderman Schmidt stated she was on the Finance Committee and Economic Development Committee, and they had more information, and that's how they did it. I don't think that that's how they did it, is right? That we had more information about, the outcome of the business.
It may have just been
I don't
verbatim.
understand what that's how they did it, because I didn't say that.
She just listens to audio. I mean, we can re-listen to it and check to make sure, but more than likely, sometimes when you're talking, it could just come out that way. She puts it verbatim and doesn't correct language sometimes, but we can re-listen and find out for sure. Okay.
I said he was going to open up 2 restaurants there.
Okay, well, let's go back and we can make the correction. Okay, now, any further? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, claims, payroll, and disbursement.
Yes, Your Honor, I'll make a motion to pay the claim, payroll, disbursement, so moved.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Seibert. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schreier.
Aye.
Motion carries. Reports, treasurer's report, City of Belleville funds and statement of cash and investments for January 2014. I need a motion.
I move the treasurer's report be filed.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Schmidt, that it be approved and filed. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next is zoning board of appeals advisory report.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for you. Can I ask before we get into the specific report? Okay, Mr. Attorney, we had talked about clarifying for both zoning and council what kind of questions were appropriate, specifically asking if you had business plans and things like that. Can you tell us how, I thought you were going to do it before zoning, but apparently it worked out.
I thought that there had already been some training that had been performed with the assistant city attorney. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Myself, Elle Davis, and Brian Flynn met with each one of the zoning board members and discussed with them what questions were appropriate.
Can I ask why that wasn't done publicly?
In the past, people have said that they would like to ask questions of us without maybe, being embarrassed of having to ask something they're unsure about in a public forum. Just let us see more, better conversation about what the
Oh, okay, and I understand that between you and the member of the zoning, but what ended up happening was zoning was very short. It seemed that they had gotten the impression they couldn't ask anything.
That's,
I think my understanding is that they were scheduled to accommodate their schedule, and they discussed what is proper and what's improper, among other things, and if the questions were answered, I can't explain why. I wasn't at the meeting, but I can't explain why. It's up to them how many questions they ask or how much or whether they participate.
I felt like there was some, I don't know if it's misunderstanding or frustration or how to characterize it.
specific criteria set forth in the code of ordinances that instructs as to what they are to consider.
I don't want to tread on anything, I'm possibly in trouble, but I want to give a for instance, there was somebody requesting a liquor license, and some other things came up about problems with the building. So what you're saying is, if they're only supposed to be asking about the liquor license, they can't bring up other issues.
Those other issues should not contribute to their finding at that meeting, no.
Okay, so I'm kind of lost then, what is the appropriate venue for addressing those other things? Because when I asked you about the inspections, you didn't have the information.
Correct, because the inspections weren't, the topic of what was, the liquor license was under consideration that night, not the building inspection. That's handled administratively through our occupancy permit process.
Thank you.
Okay, back to, zoning board of appeals.
Case number 11, March 14th, Eckerd's Orchards Incorporated requesting a special use permit to construct a 2,304 square foot metal building addition at 946 Greenmount Road, specifically on parcel 13-01.0-200-001 in a C4 commercial district.
Motion by Alderman Snyder, second by Alderman White. Discussion?
I have a question about why, when zoning was just Thursday night, that there had to be a special call meeting about this specific issue today. Why it was not on zoning, and why it got fast-tracked when the people who did follow the rules were told to wait 2 weeks. Why is this being fast-tracked?
We meant to put the pawnbrokers on the special zoning board agenda for tonight, and the Eckerd's Orchard case just came in at the last minute, and I said, let's include it on the agenda since we're calling a special meeting and get it done. I'm just trying to streamline things as much as possible.
Okay, but the family that was here with deadlines on putting up their signs were told, yeah, you were told you might get in early, but you're not going to.
No,
So
that
it
was-
really
that was-
gives the appearance of special treatment.
That's not my intention.
The special meeting was actually scheduled in order to accommodate the publication period necessary for the zoning amendment portion of the pawnbroker.
Okay, which had already been covered at ordinance and legal, so how did it not make it onto the agenda for zoning?
Because there has to be 15 days public notice. And at the time that we discussed it in ordinance and legal, it was too late to give 15 days notice in the newspaper after ordinance and legal had approved it
Okay, what
to take it to the
hurry?
zoning board. I'm sorry?
What's the hurry on the pawnbroker issue that it couldn't have just waited for the standard meeting next month?
Well, it had already missed the last meeting, so it was contemplated that it could be done in order to get it
This
on this
really
meeting.
is not rise to the level of calling a special meeting, unless there's something we're trying to head off.
I suppose that it's within the what's contemplated by the zoning board or the administration if they want to call that special meeting. And I understand that they were in attendance this evening.
Okay. For 10 minutes.
I didn't know how long the meeting was. Sorry.
Any other comments, discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, point of order on the rule orders of the day. Did we actually vote on the zoning board of appeals advisory report? Alderman Holt asked some questions before, but I don't recall an actual motion in a second to accept.
Alderman Snyder.
I do have Schneider.
I make a motion to
Alderman
approve.
White.
Do we do both of them?
Excuse me, sir. This is case number 1, 2, and 3 are the report. At the bottom it says advisory report, and these are the cases, case 11, and which is number 1, and 2, and 3
You
are
wanted
the
to ask some
cases.
questions before,
Yes. Yes.
before we had one.
Yes, we did not have it on the floor because we didn't start with it. yet.
Okay. We'll make sure.
All right, number 2, amendment to section 60-2-2 of the zoning code to include the term pawnbrokers.
Motion by Alderman Schmidt. Second. Alderman Budrowitz. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Number 3, amendment to section 60-6-50 of the zoning code to include the term pawnbrokers.
Motion to approve, Alderman Schmidt, second by Alderman Kinsella. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. For reports from standing committees, Alderman Heisler.
Yes, Your Honor. On behalf of the Master Cert Committee, I'd like to make a motion to approve the LTCP construction pay request number 44 from Cordy, Lujan, and Tubino Wade Merchant for a total amount of $57,852.25. So moved, Your Honor.
We have a motion, do I have a second? Second by Alderman Hayden. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt. Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alderman Kinsella.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract with Economic Development Resources regarding an application for the new enterprise zone.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Schmidt. Discussion. Alderman Hayden.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the first question is, this application is that extensive that we have to pay somebody near $65,000 to do it?
My understanding from the Economic Development Committee, this is going back and looking at all of our enterprise zones and making some additions or detractions from it. Is that not correct? Eric?
The current enterprise zone, you're allowed one.
Can you speak to the mic, please?
Sure. We're allowed one enterprise zone as opposed to TIF where you can have multiple districts. We're allowed one enterprise zone to a maximum of 12 square miles. Currently, we're about 10. However, regardless of that, the enterprise zone statute was recently amended in 2013 to where all current zones will expire. Our original expiration date was December 31st of 2015. By the statute, any zone that was to expire before July 1st, 2016 was automatically extended to July 1st, 2016. And a few meetings ago, you passed an ordinance to reflect that in our own ordinances. So actually, every zone that is currently existing will expire, and if you would like to have an enterprise zone, you need to apply for a new zone. So these zones, we're starting from scratch. And part of the issue is, the short answer to your question, it's going to take about 9 months to get the application fully prepared. You have to define a local labor market, and that's defined by the applicant. So we have to determine those boundaries, and then there are 10 criteria that are part of the application. Each one has a point value, and you have to meet 3 of the 10 criteria at a minimum. Obviously, this is going to be an extremely competitive process, so whether we meet as many of the criteria as we can to make our application stronger.
Does the state committee that reviews these, do they look at our past successes in relation to previous enterprise zones? And no offense intended, Mr. Chairman, but do they look at our actual performance of those particular businesses that got money through the enterprise zone, and how well they were successful, and the abilities of the city to actually track that success and make them perform to the agreement? Because if they do, I think we might be in trouble.
The fact that we have an enterprise zone now, has no bearing on the new applications. Just because we have one, that doesn't give us a leg up on any other community or organization that applies to have a new zone.
So our past performance would have no bearing in our process.
Correct. And when you're talking about tracking agreements, there's no requirement in any statute that I'm aware of that requires a development agreement with any business or enterprise zone incentives. So I understand where you're going with your question.
I understand it's not a development agreement, but it's still, it's basically, you know, we're given something they're supposed to perform. You know, the point of the question is why, first, can you give at least a brief synopsis of what the enterprise zone does?
The enterprise zone is an economic development tool that allows us to offer various types of incentives. There are some that are run strictly through the state, but because the businesses in the enterprise zone, they're eligible for manufacturing equipment tax exemption, for example, or another income tax exemption. There are several different exemptions that can be applied for. The one that would be most directly involved with would be the exemption of sales tax on building materials. And technically, we don't pay the sales tax. We, as the city or the zone administrator, we simply verify that the property is located in the enterprise zone. The state statute that was recently revised set up a procedure. It's the first procedure of its kind, actually, that is a tracking system for the abatement of sales tax on building materials. So the previous process was that if we wanted to verify that a project was in the enterprise zone, we would get them a certificate on city letterhead that says this property is in the enterprise zone. They would then take that certificate to whatever supplier that they purchased materials. If the supplier wanted to agree or wanted to abate the sales tax, they could. They didn't have to. It was not required. They could buy it anywhere in the state of Illinois. So there's no guarantee that materials will bought at Belleville. There's no guarantee that they used the certificate. No guarantee that the supplier offered the abatement. We're just simply verifying this project.
What's the checks and balance if they have a $50,000 limit that they didn't spend $55,000?
Say that again?
If they had a $50,000 tax abatement limit, what's the checks and balance that stop them from spending $55,000?
Well, if you're talking about a number that would be in a development agreement, that would have been an estimate based on their initial.
I thought these weren't in development agreements. That's what you said earlier.
No, I think maybe you misunderstood. There's no requirement at the state level that we have a development agreement with a company that wants to. Okay. We've done that in the past. It was practice when I started here.
Okay. So our enterprise zone is in our development agreements.
We have been putting to get an estimate on how much is saved potentially through a project. But again, the number that's in the agreement is the entire amount of sales tax. So that doesn't single out just what the city.
But what checks and balances there to keep them from spending more than what they're allowed?
The abatement wouldn't have a maximum on it per se, because it's based on what they spend. And what we would put in the agreement was based on their estimate of what the project was going to cost.
I thought that the past incentive agreements I've seen in Chris Form has determined a maximum amount that they could spend up to those abated.
In the previous agreements, they would have an estimate on what it would be estimated at a certain amount based on their estimated project cost. Okay, but the new process is that any company that we verify that they're in the zone, each contractor or subcontractor, anybody that's buying materials for that project has to go through our office. There's a Department of Revenue that has a website where it's like a portal. You plug plug in the information on the project, and then each project has, then you plug in the company that's buying the materials, you put in, you know, project, obviously the project location, the estimated contract amount for that particular, so if it's a plumber doing a project, that plumber's contract, and then they want to know what the sales tax rate is and what percentage of the contract is going to be materials. And then it goes, and then that plumber has this certificate that they take and use. Each project has a specific project number, and each certificate has its own identification number. Those companies that buy materials then have to report to the state when the project's done how much they estimated in their savings.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, just to finish up, it's basically $65,000 for us to pay an entity to file this application. Still question why we couldn't possibly do it on our own. The continuance, Mr. Chairman, of the enterprise zone, let alone the expansion of the enterprise zone, at this time is not something that I can support until I see better and proven evidence that we're actually going to enforce the agreements that we've done in the past and have the ability to track them. And right now, the majority of evidence I've seen, we don't. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to mention that I don't know of any case in which we have not had people meet up to their agreements. The mayor did say there was one gentleman, and he's working with that individual, and that whole idea here is to assist businesses in our community, and if we're trying to work with him, that's what we ought to be doing. But I know of no situation in which we have someone who is not following our agreements, except one that happens to be in a lawsuit, and that's all. Okay.
No.
There have been a few,
Heather?
since I've been here, that we have taken legal action on.
Oh, that we took
In
action.
most cases, we've gotten all or most of the money back.
But they haven't fallen through the cracks.
Correct.
We know about it. Okay.
Yes, there are some. I will have the list at Wednesday night's economic development meeting. If you remember, when I was criticized for having Eric do 70 hours in the basement to find these contracts, I have them all highlighted which ones, and how what brought it about was the Market Fresh Pizza. So, and no one even knew they had closed. But as going through the contracts, I have found some that's going to be questioned.
Thank you.
And there's more than one.
Eric, is it my understanding too that with this application, you said there are 90 enterprise zones?
There are currently about 97 enterprise zones.
So all of them are going to be reapplying at some point during this period.
Right.
And it was stated at the meeting that there was a possibility that they could all apply during this first round.
Right.
Therefore, it seems to me that we want the best application that we can get. And Gene has done an excellent job in working with that. So it has my support because we want someone that has written. It's not always easy to write those type of reports and applications if you've not done them in the past. It's just like writing grants until you learn how to do it. And I'm not saying our staff can't do that, but at this point, when it's highly competitive, it seems to me that would be an added benefit that we have this company do that, which is, the enterprise zone is one of the tools that we use for business incentives, as well as the TED, is my understanding. Okay, Congressman.
I would just like to say I agree with what Dr. Silsby just said. I'm on the committee working with the master plan, and we just got the chapter on economic development, and the enterprise zone is key. So a lot of the future plans, if we lost that, we would really have a big problem, and we can't lose it. And urge everyone to support it.
And I did get an email from the mayor wanting to know which ones I had in question, and I had sent an email back stating that Eric has the list, Emily asked for them, that she could ask him which ones they were. And in the response, the mayor said we didn't want to waste the time of doing this. So I hope all of you that are questioning these contracts and that do show up at Wednesday night's meeting, because I will have a list of them that I have in question. And I also asked to see the checks and balances of where and when we last checked on these contracts, to make sure that the businesses are upholding their end of the deal.
I understand the state has done away with these zones, so everyone is starting from scratch. And in a perfect world, if your department was 20 people deep, you would be handling this yourself.
Probably, yeah.
And not being a perfect world, having seen your inbox, I understand wanting to hire somebody to do this. It's a contract that meets our limit of, we have to bid it out. Did you put out an RFQ?
We don't have to bid out for professional services.
That wasn't the question.
No, we didn't, because we don't have
went with
to.
who.
Because we don't have to bid out professional services, and they have, EDR has been doing work with the city, and they're very familiar with with the city and our processes and our programs. And in order to get the application done by December of this year, this is the best course of action, in my opinion.
So is the state limiting the number of enterprise zones?
Yes, 97. Yes.
So, I guess I don't understand, and I don't know if you can even answer this. What was the reasoning of the state to say stop and start all over again?
You have to ask the legislators.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
I'd like to get back to the comment that Alderman Schneider made, that the mayor said he didn't want to waste time. I read that message, I read that note, and that note said, pick out the ones that you want to discuss so we don't have to talk about all the ones that we're not discussing. In other words, give us specifics so that we don't waste time on something that doesn't apply. He did not indicate that it was a waste of time to look at this. I don't want that to be out there. That is not the meaning of his note.
Do you
He
have
said, make specific, point out which ones you want, and we'll get that information so we don't have to waste time getting information on something we're not even talking about. That's what his message said. I read it.
But it said wasting time. Even if we don't have any problems.
Excuse me, you missed my point. Okay, you missed my point. He says specifically to try to narrow down, you had a whole bunch of things. He wanted to point out which ones specifically you wanted to talk about so we could get the paperwork together.
Don't,
That's what he said. I read it.
do
Okay?
you have the copy in your computer to read what he sent? Because you were CC'd on it, the attorney.
I think we're getting out of what we're here to discuss in terms of this contract. Alderman Randall?
That was going to be my point, Mr. Chairman, if we could redirect back to the motion.
Any other comments on the motion to approve the, develop this agreement with EDR, is it?
EDR.
Alderman Hope?
Okay, so we know how much we are spending. Potentially, how is that offset? What is the cost benefit analysis? We are doing this to make it easier to draw business to the city.
I think that the purpose of getting the enterprise zone is to have another tool to work with businesses who are looking for incentives. Be realistic, you hear of cities all along using some type of incentives. This will give us another tool in our bag of things to be able to work with.
But
with
not
them.
necessarily something we could specifically point to and measure and say, yes, we went ahead and spent this money on this contract, and because of that, because of the enterprise zone, there's not going to be an easy way to measure.
Mr. Chairman, I think one way that you can measure it is what we would not be able to secure if we did not have the enterprise zone at our disposal. What we would lose in other words.
Okay, so is it worth $65,000? How long will this one last?
Gene?
Yes, this one will last 15 years. It will be reviewed after the 13th year to determine if there is a desire in the community and approval by the state to add an extra 10 years. So the potential for an additional 25 years on the enterprise zone program.
Thank you.
And so, Melinda, you could, in a cost-benefit analysis of something like that, 65 divided by 15 or 65 divided by 25, you can see that it's a few $1,000s a year, which would be a few $100s a month. As what Kent said, is maybe we can't measure what the benefits are, but we can measure what we would lose when companies go someplace else. So this is kind of, maybe if we wanted to hire somebody in Eric's office, we could do it ourselves, but
Well, that is something I would like to see. Is this something we can hire a temporary employee to do?
I don't think we're.
I think what, excuse me, I'm sorry, Jeff.
Go ahead.
I think what we're looking at here is we're under a time crunch, are we not?
Yes, sir.
So if you wouldn't mind explaining, okay, exactly what that crunch is all about.
This comes about because of a change in the Illinois state statute pertaining to enterprise zones and a change in the rules and the regulations that really govern what happens in enterprise zones and how we move forward from this moment in time. The applications are due the end of this calendar year. There are 10 criteria, as Eric said. Many have to do with the city, but many have to do with what's called a local labor market area, which is yet undefined, but from which we have to gather a significant amount of data. It's all outlined in the scope of services. Once the application is sent to DCEO, it is reviewed by DCEO. The process takes 6 months. After the review and the scoring by DCEO, the scoring can award up to 420 points. Then the scores are sent to a statewide board, which is comprised of directors of various departments, a representative from the city of Chicago, one from Cook County, and one from downstate. So we have essentially one representative. The scores are sent to this board. The board has, it says, has 3 months to review. So we find ourselves October 1st of 2015, not knowing yet whether we have approval for our enterprise zone or not. Our enterprise zone expires shortly thereafter. We need to get this application in when there are the most slots potentially available. Remember, the state has said they're going to make all slots available, 97 slots available, and the competition starts now. Up to 49, excuse me, up to 49 will be awarded in this first round. So the competition to get there the fastest with the mostest is going to be the greatest right now, because we have the best opportunity to get our materials in a professional manner, right according to the criteria, and then push our application so that we are in when the window is open the widest. In doing so, we have to hurry up and get going and try and get to the point where our recommendation comes out and we know whether or not we have our enterprise zone extension as of 1/1/16. This gives us time, gives us a little overlap. We lose about 6 months, I think. But it ensures that we have the tool for at least the next 15 years and possibly the next 25 years. We really are under a time crunch. We know the competition is pretty significant. We've talked to communities all throughout the state. They're forming and reforming alliances to try and make this deadline and try and present their case to DCEO by 1/1/16. Pardon me, by 1/1/15 for a decision by 1/1/16.
Alderman Heisler.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. You know, you go to the people with the expertise. We're very fortunate to have Emily and Eric. They're very good at what they do. $10 an hour or $20 an hour to do it. He knows what's inside out, upside down. He knows what it takes to get this job done.
Alderman Hayden?
I do beg to differ that if the application's due at the end of the year, I don't know if we're in crisis mode, Mr. Chairman. We discussed, for those of you that are involved in the Master Sewer Committee, where we went through understand professional services are not required to be bid, but it is a bid type of process. And we discussed, Mr. Chairman, at the Master Sewer Committee just an hour ago, how that committee went through an RFQ process on the East Creek thing. We brought in a company that we've never really even dealt before, and they presented with us new ideas that is basically going to save the taxpayers in this project about $2 to $3 million. So the RFQ process has a lot of merit, and just because we don't have to is unacceptable to me. I'd like to ask Mr. Narber, are you doing any other communities besides Belleville?
We're not doing any other communities at this moment, no.
So you're just doing Belleville's application?
At this moment, we don't have any clients. This is all new to everyone in the state. That's our answer. If I may, with regard to the effort involved, I don't know what to call you this evening.
I'm going to call a lot of things.
There has been discussion regarding where this boundary will be. Part of the process is to review the existing boundary of the enterprise zone. And this is a potential that the city has to redraw the boundary of the enterprise zone. So in fact, it involves a review of the entirety of the community, where the property is now that will most benefit from the enterprise zone, and where in the future the property may be that will benefit from the enterprise zone. We have a potential of up to 12 square miles to include within the boundary, but at this time, in order to make the application, we will be sitting with staff to understand where this boundary should be drawn. That will take some time. We also have to meet with staff. We have to review our own resources and meet with the state in order to draw this local labor market area, the area from which all of this, a great deal of the statistics must come from in order to make this application. If you review the scope of services after the zone boundary and the LLMA boundary, we then have to fill out the application. So we have to gather data pertaining to unemployment, employment opportunities, poverty, abandoned coal mine, brownfield, or federal disaster area, large-scale business closing, vacant structures. We have to create a tax-based improvement plan, a public infrastructure improvement plan, a career skills program, and we have to note the equalized assessed valuation within the LLMA. In addition, there is a need for an economic development narrative for the zone, a narrative on local incentives and programs, the role of the designated zone organization, an identification and explanation of municipal incentives, the economic impact of the zone, the management structure of the zone, the draft designating ordinance, the boundary map, the statement concerning the local labor market area itself, a public hearing. We have attended meetings, and Eric has been to those over the last year, that have dealt with these new procedures and this new process. In addition, we have thoroughly reviewed the new statute and, more importantly, the rules and regulations governing this application process. We feel very strongly that this is a 9-month effort on our part with the assistance of your professional staff, and feel that that amount of time is necessary to do this job. Thank you.
One last comment, and then we're moving on.
I have some specific questions about the contract. How do you gather the information about coal mines and brownfields? How do you gather the information about vacant workers, and who owns the information you gather? If the city wanted to use this for some other purpose, do you own the information you have gathered, or do we own the information?
You own the information. It is a report for the city.
Okay, and how do you gather that? Specifically vacant structures?
We'll be walking the city and looking for vacant structures. We'll be I'm sorry, I stand, pardon me. We'll be walking the city looking for vacant structures. We'll be working with city databases concerning vacant structures. So there is both what we would call in-house review of existing material, and also we'll be generating primary source material for use in our report as well.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
No.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. No. Seifert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett.
Aye.
Schneider.
No.
Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the fee schedule for enterprise zone expansion. That's basically $65,000 plus the out-of-pocket expenses.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Sorry, yeah, I think you're reading the contract for EDR. This is something different.
I am.
Should be behind that.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you.
I'll briefly explain if that's all right. Currently, with our current zone, if a company would like to come in and their property is located outside the enterprise zone, so they need the enterprise zone to make the project work, whether that be through property tax abatement or sales tax abatement of building materials. We typically have enlisted the services of economic development resources, and then we would charge the company requesting the incentive, either the amount of EDR's fee or at least do a cost sharing with them. Under the new statute, we're not allowed to do that. The fee structure that is outlined in the statute would be, we can charge up to 0.5% of the cost of the building materials for that project with a maximum of $50,000. So that's, but, and some communities are doing that on any project that comes forward, but administratively, we felt that if you want to expand the zone and it incurs a cost for the city, they share that cost. So if you're currently be in the zone, we're being charged because, in my view, if you need an incentive to make a project go forward, why would we charge you for an existing, something that the city is not expending any funds on? But in case of an expansion, there would be an expense there, so this covers that cost at least a portion.
And these figures are coming from the statute?
Correct.
Okay. Let me get a motion in a second. You have a motion? Kinsella, second by Alderman Schmidt. Okay.
Okay, I got a little confused there. I thought the enterprise zone had definite boundaries and there was a maximum allowed by state statute.
You can go up to 12 square miles,
Okay. What happens if we reach that?
then we want to expand the zone.
Okay, does it have to be contiguous?
It does.
Okay, so this is just kind of a, if we need it kind
Right.
of thing?
Correct, yeah, I mean, we don't have to charge anything. But then if a company were to come in and say they would like to expand the zone to incorporate their project, then any costs incurred by the city would solely be by the city. It's been past practice to cost share with that company.
Okay, so the current zone is about 10 square miles.
Correct.
And there's a new max of 12 square miles.
Well, there's a max currently of 12 square miles.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we had not met the max.
correct,
And the max has not changed according to the state.
right.
How many square miles do we have in the city? I mean, what percentage of this is it?
We're 19, almost 20 square miles throughout the city.
But for someone to want to ask to expand the zone, to put their business there, it needs to be very near.
There are ways to get to it, it depends on location, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't it our plan to kind of follow up on that, is that we're not going to go for the maximum 12, we're going to go for 9 or 10 So it would allow some room to go a little bit further.
Because you can't foresee the future, you could lock it into what you think is the best for now, but
Right,
20 years it could be
right.
different. Okay.
Alderman Delay?
Does the expansion of the zone automatically cost the city something when it does that for a business who's outside the zone?
If we were to hire a company to go through that process, and EDR has been that company for us since I've been here.
So there's a company that's just outside the current zone that wants to be a part of it. We have to go through this whole process here just for one company?
No, there is a process to expand the enterprise zone currently and in the new statute, and very similar, I believe. But it's not as detailed as, no, I mean, I think $5,000 is maybe then the average on the expansion of the zone. Depends on the amount of forecast.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is this fee get automatically be charged to a business who is like close to the zone but not in it, who wants the expansion of it to take advantage of whatever incentives there are?
Not
Because
necessarily.
doesn't this fee kind of wipe out any incentive they get?
Well, this gives us the option, the ability to charge a fee. There are some projects, especially up north, that are, millions and millions of dollars where, a $50,000 fee for expansion of the enterprise zone really wouldn't put that much of it in. I mean, we're not,
It's not a rubber stamp.
right, yeah, this just gives us the ability to basically do what we were doing before in a different manner.
So if the city of Belleville is gonna, for somebody's gonna incur some sort of cost with this potential business's expansion of the zone, then this fee allows for it to include it.
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this fee schedule. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgeworth. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove. Orwood. Schneider.
No.
Motion carries. Alderman Anthony.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Police and Fire Committee, I'd like to make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Southwestern Illinois College for the use of the city's firing range. I so move.
Motion and a second by Alderman Schneider.
Yes.
Alderman Ridgewitz.
Yes.
Any discussion?
Sir,
Alderman Randall.
thank you. I noticed that in the intergovernmental agreement that was put in the packets here, there's a reference to Exhibit A, and yet there is no Exhibit A included with the agreement. I was just wondering if there was somebody here who could explain what Exhibit A is.
I get it. Alderman Randall, Exhibit A is contemplated to be what would be worked out as far as who's going to pay for what materials between the police department and Southwestern Illinois College. This is intended to be part of a concealed carry class. So I believe that the chief and his staff were going to work out how they would handle replacement of items like targets and things of that nature, and potentially and hopefully some joint improvements to the facility itself if the class goes well.
I also noticed that this agreement, is backdated to Saturday, March 1st. And runs through February 28, 2015. Does SWIC then plan to construct their own facility?
Not that I'm aware of. I believe that they're utilizing existing municipal facilities or state facilities that are near their campuses.
And Royce?
Yes.
If I could ask you a couple of questions here. Over at the treatment plant, where the parking would be for this, is the construction pretty well far along to where parking is not going to be an issue for those folks back there?
They're going to be still in construction probably through late summer.
But that's where the access gate is, it not to the range?
Yes, it is. I don't know how large the classes will be but there is some limited parking back there.
Okay, and how large are the classes anticipated to be doing them?
I was just gonna say, there's also.
Could you step to the microphone, please?
Yeah, sure. There's also parking at the SWIC, I'm not sure what the building's called, but where's that, the fire science is at?
Fire training facility.
Fire training facility for SWIC. They have parking there, and there is an access, there's a gate off that side of the range as well.
Not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's, as you head out Freeburg, kind of,
Talking the back entrance off of Route 15?
where Paulie's is, it's on the same side. Yeah. There's a rail car out there and,
1521 Freeburg Avenue.
1521.
Jim, how much of a walk would that be?
Just cross tracks, from that location, just cross tracks. What I recall in discussions too, there was a possibility of maybe having a park there, and either accessing a gate and or shuttling through, the other way.
Do these classes require our participation as a department? Do the classes require the city's participation as a department from range officer or anything like that?
No.
I thought the chief said that was his intention, that you would have a member of Belleville be present when these classes were there.
Well, we may have a range personnel present during that. I haven't discussed those fine details with the chief on that, or been in discussions with SWIC on that. But it won't, our range personnel won't be teaching the course.
But from a supervision standpoint?
Right.
Okay.
Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White. Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alderman Musgrove.
Your Honor, I would like to make a motion on behalf of the Ordinance and Legal Review Committee to amend section 7-2-2, pawnbrokers ordinance.
Motion, do I have a second? Alderman Slider. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is communications. Can we read them all together?
So moved. Second, Chairman, before we do that, I have no objections, and I'd just like to make a slight correction in item E. As it reads right now, it shows that they're asking to close the road at East Washington. That should actually be East Lincoln. This was a change the committee confirmed that.
To close East Lincoln and South Charles and
Yes, sir.
so noted. We have a motion to read as a group. Do I have a second? Alderman Schmidt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
A, request to approve a street banner permit for the Belleville Hospital's Golf and Tennis Classic to be displayed at the North Illinois Street entrance to the city. B, request from the Belleville Fire Department to hold their second annual open house at Station 4 on Saturday, April 5th, 2014, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. C, request from the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce to host their 31st annual chili cook-off event on the square on Friday, October 3rd and Saturday, October 4th, 2014. They are asking for the public square to be closed down at 5 p.m. on Thursday, October 2nd, 2014, and reopened at midnight on Saturday, October 4th, 2014. D, request from the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce to enhance the chili cook-off by holding their second annual Chili Chase 5K and Kids Pepper Dash on Saturday, October 4th, 2014 at 9 a.m. E, request from the Gustav Corner House Restoration Committee to close East Lincoln at South Charles and Aubin Street and Muscoota Avenue for their open house on Saturday, April 5th, 2014, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. They are also requesting 50 folding chairs and 8 aluminum picnic tables. F, request from Pitcher's Sports Pub to allow West Main Street, closed from the public square to 2nd Street, to remain closed after the St. Patrick's Day Parade on Saturday, March 15, 2014, until 4 p.m. for their event.
I move we
Approve that, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Gonzalez, second by Alderman Seibert. Discussion?
Is there anybody can answer questions about the Gustav Carter event? Just what are they doing with the tables and chairs? Are they having a program? I know all of the museums in town are open that day. I just didn't know what they were doing.
They're having a Civil War reenactment group there during that period of time, so I think that's the reason we wanted to hold it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We have no petitions. We need a motion to read by title only, Resolution 3171, 3172, 3173, 3174, and 3175. Motion to submit, second. Alderman Galetti. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
A, resolution number 3171, a resolution of support for the City of Belleville program year 2014 application for community development block grant funding.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Anthony, second by Alderman Seibert. Discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Richards.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Resolution 3172.
B, resolution number 3172, a resolution requesting permission from IDOT to close Route 159 for the Veterans Memorial Day Parade on May 26, 2014, from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Schneider. Discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Ridgewood. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
C, resolution number 3173, a resolution requesting permission from IDOT to close Route 159 for the Veterans Day Memorial Ceremony on November 11, 2014, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Galletti. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries.
D, resolution number 3174, a resolution in support of the River Bridge District High-Speed Rail Station in St. Louis as part of the Illinois High-Speed Rail Initiative.
Second. Motion by Alderman Anthony, second by Alderman Schmidt. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Alderman
Go
Holt.
first.
Where'd this resolution come from? It has to do with us?
My understanding is that the administration from East St. Louis asked for the city of Belleville support in trying to gain this
And so
stop
this
or
has
whatever
not been
it is.
discussed at the Economic Development Committee yet?
No, it's not. It's not. It's just a resolution to. It's nothing to us other than just saying we support it for them. It's
Well,
not us
right,
personally.
a resolution speaks on behalf of the people of Belleville, and I mean, I don't know nothing about this project other than we're spending $500,000 of money on a study, and you know, unless, you know, there's a true benefit to the people of Belleville, you know, why are we entering our dog in this race when we don't even have direct information?
I think there is a benefit not only to Belleville, but to the region. The region itself is going to benefit from the high-speed rail. If you remember, back when the Metrolink first started off, the first station was in East St. Louis. Now, if the plan to go around East St. Louis with this high-speed rail goes through, and consequently, the region, the Metro East is not going to benefit from that rail station. You're gonna have to go to St. Louis to actually participate in that, or either go to Alton or Granite City. Now, and as you know, Granite City is in Madison County, and St. Louis is across the river. Now, the impact in itself is going to bring more business to the region, and it's a regional. It's a regional thing. And you don't agree with that?
I understand how passenger rail brings business.
But it's a regional thing that brings business to this region. And the county has committed $500,000 to this, to ensure that that station gets located there. They're not going to come up into Belleville with it, that's for sure.
Go ahead. This type of discussion is exactly where it should be, is in the Economic Development Committee, to air out what are the pros and cons of all this before we just bring a measure like this to the full city council without knowing all the facts. I'm not necessarily saying it's a good thing or bad thing, but I think it should be discussed within the Economic Development Committee, and I'd like to make a motion to postpone and forward it to the Economic Development Committee and have this stuff discussed in there, and then let's bring it back to the full council with these type of questions answered.
We have a motion and a second to postpone this resolution and send it back to committee. An aye
Send it to
vote,
the committee, because it hasn't even been to the committee.
an aye vote would be to send it back. A no vote would mean that we would vote on it tonight. Alderman Kinsella.
This is not a Belleville project, so I don't know why it belongs in my committee, because it's not being done in Belleville. I think we can support it.
If it's not a Belleville project, why is it even here on the council floor then, Mr. Kinsella?
Because they've asked for our support.
Because other communities are asking us to support them. We've asked other communities at times to support us.
Was there a cover letter that came in this? And how do I know who it came from?
All I'm asking, Mr. Chairman, is if this council just wants to just bump this right on through, if Mr. Anthony just basically stated how it is going to affect the city of Belleville and possibly the economic development, so that answers Mr. Kinsella's statement or question or concern. I find it hard to believe that this resolution needs to pass tonight. And I find it amazing that my colleagues wouldn't want it to send it to committee and discuss it and get more facts before we, as the representatives of these people, throw our hat into the ring. And I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad idea to support other communities, Mr. Chairman, or other communities supporting us. But I certainly don't have all the facts of this and the money being intended and what it's going to go to. And at a minimum, I'm asking out of respect to get some answers, which that's what this would do. Now, if the majority don't want to do that, that's fine.
There's no money involved, is there?
There's no money.
Yes, there is money, Mr. Chairman. We're endorsing spending $500,000 of money.
That's the county.
I live in the county. I pay towards that.
That's who you should address it to.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is not an argument time. This is a statement time. And understand that it can become heated at times, but this is, you can state your opinion, and everybody has a right to their opinion. We may not agree to it, and there's a democratic way to do this, and that will be to either vote the motion to go back to committee or to vote no, and then it will be said. Alderman White, did you have any other comments?
I'll hold my comments until I find out it's going back to committee, but if it's not going back to committee, I do have a comment.
Roll call.
Yes.
Wait. An aye vote means it goes back to committee. A no vote means goes to committee, and a no vote means we'll vote on it tonight.
Heisler.
No.
Kinsella.
No.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
No.
Ridgewitz.
No.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
No.
Davidson.
No.
Sillsby.
No.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
No.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
No.
Orlett.
No.
Schneider.
Aye.
10 seconds.
Motion carries. Now we have a
Motion fails. Motion's.
Motion failed. Do we have a motion for 31 seconds?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, a motion and a second. Alderman White?
Schmidt. Yes. Mr. White.
Okay. I'm opposed to this on several levels, and I'll just keep it to two, basically. One, by definition, it's not really going to be a high-speed train, especially if you keep adding places where it stops. You have a station in St. Louis, you have a station in East St. Louis, you have a station in Alton, and so on all the way up. It's not going to be that big of a time saver in the long run. My second one is the nearest business model that I could find to compare this to is Amtrak. And anybody that knows Amtrak knows it's never made a dime in its life and subsidized the heck out of our money. And as a nation, as a county, as a state, and as a city, as a county, we cannot continue dumping money that this country, this state, this nation, and this city do not have. Thank you.
Alderman Holt?
I have several pieces of information I'd like to share. This is an article from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that says Illinois transportation officials have launched a detailed study on how to increase train speeds between St. Louis and Alton. It can take an hour to get 25 miles between these stations, with trains sometimes slowing to a stop. Adding another point between those will compound the problem, not fix the problem. In addition, as was already mentioned, there are currently 2 rail bridges across the Mississippi. One of them does not come into St. Clair County. Amtrak does not own the tracks. The railroad companies own the tracks. They make more money with freight than they make with passengers. It has the priority. There is no high speed. You're only cutting a 5.5-hour trip down to 4.5 hours. This is a bogus waste of money. Belleville does not have a dog in this fight. It will not increase anything for this county, and it will not do anything for Belleville. We have no business doing that. In addition, it's very fuzzy where this request even came from. So I encourage my colleagues to vote no.
Sure.
I just want to, besides the issues already stated on the floor, and I sadly see my colleagues wouldn't respect the purpose of sending it to committee, but again, I want to state for the record, Mr. Chairman, the statement by Mr. Davidson, that I should address this with the county. The county's already done what they've done, and I'm not going to sit here tonight and we're representing the people of the city of Belleville and saying that we, the city of Belleville, endorse this, and that we endorse spending $500,000 for a designing plan and feasibility analysis station location. I don't even know if that statement is even correct. My understanding is this $500,000, Mr. Chairman, is going in to even see if there's a possibility. It's not even a designing phase of an actual station. And there's also been questions of where the money is coming from in that, just so the other people on this county or city council board know that there's been questions into the $500,000 that they're taking this funding source from, is even if the funding source is even legal to be used. So there's a lot of public questions out there that by delaying it in the committee could be answered, that certainly by voting no tonight, I'm not going to have to worry about having the egg on my face to the public. Thank you.
Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
No.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
No.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Sillsby. Hayden.
No.
Seibert. White.
No.
Galletti.
No.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
No.
Same vote.
Motion carries.
E, resolution number 3175, an IDOT permit resolution regarding a sewer line within the right-of-way of SBI Route 161.
Motion to approve.
I'll make that
Alderman
motion to
Heisler,
approve.
second. Alderman Hope.
I'm sorry, there were no resolutions or ordinances in my packet, so I did not get the opportunity to read this. Is there anything about time frame?
No, there's no time frame. It's basically to assure the Department of Transportation that we're going to build a sewer line under the road per the plan that they've approved.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. Ordinances, we need a motion to read by title only, ordinance 77, 51, 52, and 53. Alderman Schmidt. Alderman Schneider. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
A, ordinance number 7751, a zoning ordinance in regard to case number 11, March 14th, Eckerd Orchards Incorporated.
Motion to approve. Motion Schmidt, second by Alderman White. Discussion, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries.
Ordinance number 7752, an ordinance amending Chapter 7 business licenses and Chapter 60 zoning of the revised code of ordinances of Belleville, Illinois as amended by amending portions of sections thereof.
Motion. Alderman Schmidt, second by Alderman Davidson. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Ridgewood. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries.
Ordinance number 7753, an ordinance amending Chapter 52 traffic of the revised ordinances of the city of Belleville, Illinois as amended by amending portions of sections thereof.
Motion to approve. Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Hayden.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Ridgewood. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. Any unfinished business?
Can I ask?
You can.
I think it's like with the mayor being gone tonight, I think it was a shock to all of us that we didn't have somebody set permanently. Let's say he would be sick or something and we have to have someone approved. Would we have to call a special city council meeting? I think this is something that we should have already, who is in the chain of command if he cannot be here. I mean, it's nothing I had anything against you, Mr. Sophie, when I said no. It's the way we did it. It's the way I think. We should already have someone appointed that would be taking over. Or am I wrong? I could be wrong.
The statute covers both mayor pro tem and temporary chairman, and the difference, of course, being that the former involves a mayor who's incapacitated. The latter involves a mayor who's simply unavailable for the meeting, but still in the capacity to serve the other functions as mayor. You know, if you want to address this issue by ordinance, you may, but the statute provides in each of those instances that you just simply have somebody who is determined by the council in either.
So it's nothing that we have to automatically have it set in who would take
No, you could take that up when it arises, or if you wanted to consider doing something by ordinance, you may.
What
But
would
the
you
statute
recommend?
does cover it.
Can I ask what you would recommend, or how you would think it should be done?
Well,
I mean, it was a surprise tonight
Yeah.
to not have someone that we didn't, automatically take charge.
Well, I'm told that this is only the second time in 10 years that he's missed, so it's probably not something you need to address by ordinance. Now, if there was going to be a circumstance where he was going to be incapacitated, or and that was anticipated, I suppose you could address it by ordinance, but many municipalities just allow the ordinance, the statute to govern that process.
That's the
Sometimes, in the past, we said in this, on the side, we automatically chair. We're not following proper procedure.
Yes, we did. He declined it, is my understanding.
I did, if I remember us voting in,
The other time it happened, when I was sitting on this council, Alderman Seibert did it. It was my understanding this time that he was contacted and we told him he was not interested in doing it.
So that's what
The next senior alderman is Alderman Musgrove, and he declined.
Can all this take place?
Well, the mayor knew he was good. You have a comment? According to the statute, what he did, he was going to be not available. Therefore, he contacted, like he would do if he was out of town or sick. We understand that the senior alderman is the person that would take that. If he is unavailable or chooses not to, then it goes to the next senior alderman. He refused. Then, either fortunately or unfortunately, I'm the third one. If I said no, then I don't know who's next. But that's how it came. There were no predetermined that they wanted me to sit up here and do that. I preferred not to, but because I was asked to do it, because 2 other people didn't do it, I agreed to do it. It's a one-time thing, hopefully. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying because of the...
How it comes about, I would like to understand and know how.
I just didn't remember voting last. I don't remember us voting.
So there are some municipalities that just do it by custom. It doesn't become an issue. I was just asked what the law was on it, and I said 3.1-35-35 of the municipal code contemplates a vote. Pardon? I'm a numbers guy.
The last time the mayor was absent, they voted for me.
Right. That's been quite a long time ago.
No, there was one meeting since I've been.
Since we've been on, he's been up there twice.
Alderman Randall.
Dr. Sylvia, thank you for your service tonight. May we move forward.
Yes. Any other unfinished business? Alderman Heisler? Pardon me?
Job well done.
Okay, yes.
I just have a question though. What is, I don't know if this is something the city attorney might address sometime, what is the point of committees? Like we exhaustively went through the enterprise zone issue the other night in economic development, and then we rehashed it for about the same length of time here. So is there a point in setting something? Well, why do you have committees? I mean, if we send something to committee like this high-speed rail thing, and it would come back and stay here anyway, what is the point of committees?
Well, generally speaking, committee work is intended to afford an opportunity for extended debate. It doesn't mean that you're not permitted to debate it when it comes to the full governing body. That's really up to you, how much you want to defer to your colleagues in the committee. Sometimes the committee structure leads to very short meetings because there's deference given by the members of the governing body to those of the committee. And sometimes you end up with an extended debate. There's really no requirement either way.
Not all members are up.
Great.
No, please have the same
I'm not telling you how to do it, I'm just telling you that's what I perceive as the benefit of committees.
Okay, miscellaneous and new business.
Move the motor fuel claims be paid, Your Honor.
Second. Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Heisler. Roll call vote.
Alderman Hayden.
I'm sorry, Alderman Hayden.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt. Ridgewood.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert.
Aye.
White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Motion carries. My understanding there is no reason to go into executive session this evening, and I also thank you for your patience this evening and for the mayor will down. Motion to adjourn, second by Alderman Schneider. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Have a good evening.
Good job, Bill.
Rather use the extra myself, why did you